Yo, 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 what is going on, everyone? How are we doing today? 1 second. Shut my... Oh, I can't shut my door. All right. Never mind. We're still getting used to life here. Heyo. What is up, Taro? How are we doing today? What is going on, everyone? It has been a hot minute. It has been kind of crazy since the last time we talked. I haven't streamed in like a week or two. And the reason for that is because a lot has gone on. In the last little bit, I have acquired some friends. Hello. Say hi. This is Sadie, everybody. This is Sadie, good girl Sadie. And then this is good girl Harley. Sadie, you know you're not supposed to do that. What are you doing? What are you doing? Be good. Ooh, you're on. Everyone's watching. You guys are so good. Paw Patrol operators, they're so good. Yeah, but so that's essentially what's been going on in my life the last weekend. And I'll tell the story and everything like that because it's definitely a story. And also, unfortunately, we also had the passing of one of my sons, one of my hamsters, my chillin'. Gus, rest in peace, unfortunately. That all happened very quickly. What's up, everybody? How are we doing? In a span of like, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, everything got very crazy. Yes, rest in peace, Gus. Thank you, #1 fan. Happy to see you. And let me go ahead. Let me see if I can switch off to, yeah. Hope you're doing better, bro. Yeah, I am doing a lot better. The tough part is that we really didn't have much time to grieve, unfortunately, because it happened the day that we were picking him up. So basically, long story short, original owner, unfortunately, probably wasn't feeding them. Probably wasn't taking care of them very much. And was just threatening to get rid of them. Some ways were crazier than others. Long story short, without getting into it, we ended up trying to see if we could get anyone to take the dogs, because we always wanted a dog. We've been talking so much about getting dogs, me and Amanda Missop, and we always wanted a puppy. That was always the goal. But sometimes life ends up working in crazy ways, right? So we get this phone call and we're trying to find someone to find the dogs. You know, I call my mom, she's not able to take them. I call a couple friends, they're not able to take them. The closest neighbors to us already have 2 dogs. It was just, you know, and last thing we wanted to do was separate them. And because they're attached, yeah, at the hip, they've lived their whole lives together. I should hold on. Let's see if I can. They live basically their whole lives together. Oh, just right there. But so we didn't want to separate them. They're about 4 or 5 years old, you know. So God forbid, there were 2 options. You know, it could have gone really badly. You know, and they could have been gotten rid of in one way. Or you know, in another scenario, they would have gone to the pound because they didn't have anyone in that immediate owner's vicinity that would have been able to take them. And they're so old that like the likelihood of them getting adopted, I mean, they're so good, they probably would have, honestly, looking at them. I mean, come on, they're so good. But the likelihood of them getting adopted is pretty poor. And also, God forbid they do get adopted, they would have gotten separated, and also them going to the pound together. It's just rough. I didn't want to see that happen. That's the last thing I wanted to see these girls go through. They're so good. Look at them. They're just sleeping while I'm out here yapping, probably full volume. They don't give a fuck. They just love it. Those are so good. We on chapter 5 of Wukong. Also got Yellow Loong. Let's go, Weave Guru. Thank you for the $2. And you know what? I need to get back into playing that game. I think I might New Game Plus that shit. Wukong was so much fun. I need to play that again. Maybe I'll get into Dark Souls or something. Or maybe if I play Elden Ring on stream, you guys would love that. I feel like you guys would love that shit. Maybe that's what I'll do. Because Wukong was so much fun. And I'm bad at Dark Souls games, but I was pretty good at that one. Yeah, I know you guys would love the Elden Ring stream. Bomberman Tiberius says, honestly, that would be pretty fire. Oh, I used to play this one game when I was younger on PlayStation 1. My grandpa had it. It was so good. I don't remember what it was. I have to look it up. What was this game? It was like, you had to like, yes, bombing islands. Oh my god, yes, I found it. This game was peak, bro. Hold on. Peak gaming, honestly. The bombing islands. This game was fire. I bet I could fucking do this shit now. Now that I'm fucking 28 years old. When I was like 3 years old, I was terrible at this game. I could not figure this shit out. But long story short, let me get back on track here. So, you know, when Amanda first called me, you know, we were like, look, you know, we've never even had a dog before. We've had dogs before. Like, I've lived with dogs my whole life. Amanda's lived with dogs her whole life. We walk, you know, and take care of our neighbors' dogs when they need us to. So, you know, we have experience with dogs, I should say. We've never owned dogs before, but we've had experience with dogs. We've grown. Thank you for the $2. I appreciate you. Hate the Taoist, man. Hitbox is awful. Took 2 weeks. Yo, you know, I missed that boss, and that's why I need to do New Game Plus. I went too far, and I went to the end game of the secret phase instead of fighting the two other secret bosses, and you just lock yourself out of the other bosses. So I have to go back and play those games. Some of those bosses are tough, but Wukong is such a great game. So I'm like, hey, 2 dogs is a lot. We probably can't do that. So no one can take them. We just can't do it, Amanda. I'm sorry. We just can't. I'm so sorry. And she goes, yeah, you're right. I know. You know, she was kind of, you know, she didn't want to make a decision. Like, I kept asking her opinion, but she wanted to base it off of mine. So we were just going back and forth, and like, not in like an argument way, like just talking back and forth. And like, we decided that it really wasn't, not 100-Eyed Taoist. Oh yeah, fuck that final boss in that chapter. Yeah, fuck the final boss of 100-Eyed Taoist. He sucks. You have to do the secret area. If you do the secret area, then you get a secret item, and you stop his bullshit fucking final move. But anyway, I keep getting distracted. But no, thank you, Beep Guru, for the donations and the support. I love you. I have to finish the story. So you did it and it still took forever? Fair enough. We hang up the phone. We're both upset because we want to help them. And then, you know, we hang up. And then, like, I want to say, like, I reached over, took a hit of the bong a little bit, you know, I can't lie to you. And I sat down. Probably took me about 120 seconds at most. And I said, you know what? Fuck it. And I got on the phone, and I called Amanda, and I said, tell him we'll take the dogs. And here we are. With the 2 dogs. But, so I think that was Thursday? No, that was Wednesday, right? Because we were gonna do Wednesday night member stream, and we couldn't because we had to get the house. We had to get the house correct. So Wednesday night. And so Thursday morning, you know, we're finishing up everything. We're double vacuuming. We're making sure everything's all good to go. Everything is dog prep for the house. We got the bed. We got everything. You know, we got the bowls. We got the food. We got everything that we needed to make sure, you know, these girls are good. And things will always work out if you truly care about the matter at hand and you're a genuine dude that sees things through respect. I appreciate that, Tiberius. I sincerely appreciate everyone's nice comments in chat. It really does mean the most to me. I really do appreciate it, sincerely. These dogs needed help. You know what? And the last thing they needed to do was get separated. You know, they couldn't bear it. They just would not bear it. So I'm glad that we just bit the bullet, took them both, and you know what? They're so well behaved. They're so good. Look at them. They're sleeping right now. They're fucking asleep. Again, I'm yapping full fucking volume, and they're both just passed out. I mean, one of them's... Oh, I caught ya. I caught ya, girl. You know you're not supposed to do that. So yeah. Yes, sleepy girls. Don't misgender my dogs. I'm kidding. So yeah, so we wake up, we're getting everything ready. And do you know how old they are? They're 4 or 5 years old, I believe, we think. I have a vet appointment set up for next week. I actually called them earlier today, got that taken care of. So they have a vet appointment. We're gonna get them looked at. We're gonna see if we can find out as much as we can about them. Because they're a little skinny. Honestly, both of their little legs, their back legs, are a little weak. I don't want to assume anything. I don't know what the original owner did. I mean, based off of what I've heard, I wouldn't put anything past it. But you know, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, they were hitting the back of the legs. You know, they just got really weak. They got really weak back legs. I don't know. But they're just really skinny. You know, you can see their bones a little bit. But we've been fattening them up. We've been getting them food. You know, they've been eating hefty. They've been having everything they could want and more. You know, they're definitely super much. I'm getting like whatchamacallit, a little emotional, and I'm sorry for that. But you know, we're just glad that we could help them, and they're much happier than they were in their old state. You know, much happier than they were. And you know, they're going out. You know, we're walking them. I just took them on a really long walk earlier. I timed the stream so that way we can set up a walk just before dinner time. You know, keeping them on a strict schedule. And yeah, the vet will steer us right. Yeah, we're doing a couple different things. Like we're right now we're just focusing on things that will just make you know, their digest a little bit better, so they can start handling higher doses of food. So we're just feeding them what they've had. We started off with just half a cup. You know, we've worked our way up now, you know, to, you know, 3/4 of a cup. I gave them a full cup this morning for breakfast. And they're good. You know, we just wanted to work them up. We don't want to, you know, we don't want to eat them. We don't feed them too much. And basically, we're about to leave. Because we're gonna go to Amanda's work. I'm gonna drop her off, and because I have to go to PetSmart and get the last couple of things that we need. Well, jeez, Karen, a minute. Damn, yeah. Sometimes that's what you got to do, man. You gotta rescue them from, you know, a shitty situation. Unfortunately, it's a good on you, Tiberius. That's literally what you have to do. Unfortunately, some people just don't treat animals right, and it's sad, you know. They're the goodest girls in the world. I don't know who would possibly hurt them, or like do anything bad to them. It's one you had to put down. I'm sorry to hear that, man. Sorry to hear that. He was 12 though. We lived a long life. We talked about this. You know, lived a good life. You know, sometimes you just gotta give them the best life you can. That's all you can do. Yeah, and that's what we're gonna hope to do with these girls. So we're about to leave. And we have hamsters. We have 2 hamsters, Leviathan and Gus Gus. And I love my hamsters. Amanda loves her hamsters too, but you know, I love my hamsters. You know, I'm always checking on them, looking at them, making sure they're okay, or if I can notice them or see them in my day, I try to interact with them as much as I possibly can, because they're usually nocturnal. They're usually very, hide away, animals. So if they're out and about, I'm like, hey, I try to hang out with them as much as I can. And so does Amanda too. Again, I don't want to. I'm not saying she doesn't. But when I looked at the hamsters, I saw Gus was out, and he was right outside of his little wooden hut, and he was just acting weird. He kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and I was like, that's weird. He wouldn't be doing that. I don't know what he's doing. He's either looking at something or stuck by something, or he's not. Something's wrong. And we pulled the enclosure out. And I looked at him, and he was making a little squeaking noise, and he kept going back and forth. And I'm sorry if I get emotional again. And he was just foaming at the mouth, and he was clearly having a seizure. And it just wasn't good. Just wasn't good at all. And we could tell it wasn't it wasn't good. And I had him in my arms. I had him in my my hands, I'm sorry. And I was just holding him, and he just wasn't good. He wasn't taking food, he wasn't drinking anything. I thought he was choking on something maybe at first. But we immediately called the vet. And of course, it's already a busy day as it is. Picking these girls up. I drop him in off at work. Thankfully, the vet is only 2 minutes down the road from Amanda's job. Very convenient. So dropped Amanda off. We kind of had a feeling it was going to be the last time. Just based off of what we looked up when we were trying to see what we could do to maybe help him or sort him out. And yeah, it was it didn't look good, so we kind of had a feeling. Amanda said her goodbyes. It was really tough. It was very tough. And then she went to work. I drove to the vet, and we brought him into emergency service. And he had to get put on some kind of oxygen ventilator that they ever had. It was literally just a full thing of oxygen that you would put on a human, but it's just a bigger kind of tube, and it has a little thing in it, and you just put the hamster inside, and it just fills it with oxygen. And they were giving him that, and apparently that helped him a little bit. But we had taken him to the vet a couple times back and forth, every other week almost, because he was having issues with his foot. And we kept trying to see if it was just a cut or if it was just a bruise, or we could try and clean it, because he had, another bruise on his other foot. So we just had to take care of it. And what basically happened was there was an abscess on his toe, and it was actually a tumor. It actually ended up being cancer, unfortunately. At least that's what the doctor said. We could have done x-rays and more tests to figure out if it was cancer. But with hamsters, they're so tiny, they're so goddamn small. You know what I mean? They're so tiny that you can't really do that without it being a big issue. It's really hard, and it's very stressful on the hamster. You got to put him inside a very tight space, and it's dark, and it's flashing lights. They don't know what the fuck is going on. It's very stressful for a hamster to get an x-ray. Excuse me. Let alone, it's even 10 times more stressful to get cancer treatment as a hamster. On top of, even if you do identify the cancer, you're almost guaranteeing that hamster's life will be filled with constant vet appointments, constant tests, and constant, remedies and things that they can do to make the hamster better. And I'm very thankful for the vet. I mean, me and Amanda kind of felt this way anyway. But I'm very thankful that the vet was very honest with us. The very first time, once we figured out that it might have been cancer, and she was like, "Look, it's very tough. It's very stressful for the hamster. If he's living his normal life and he doesn't seem to be in pain or in stress, which he wasn't, he was still running on his wheel. He was still doing everything he could. And there, we didn't want to put stress on his final moments. That's the last thing we wanted to do. We wanted him to enjoy his last time. So that was unfortunately his moment. And they repeated that, and I said, no, we agree. My girlfriend already said her goodbyes. If you can just give me 5 minutes with him, I would just personally like to say goodbye. And that was that. And they brought him back in on the oxygen, which, because it's in the oxygen, I couldn't even really touch him. He was just kind of in the oxygen thing, and he just looks scared. He doesn't know what's going on. He can't move. He's just getting filled with oxygen. He's in pain. He's hurting. He was just having a seizure. And what they concluded was that the cancer had probably spread to his lungs. And that he was having respiratory issues, and he couldn't breathe, and he was having a seizure because it was hard for him to breathe. He was struggling so much to breathe. So they said that we had to leave him in there the entire time. And then the doctor left, and it was just me and the nurse. And I thank this nurse so much. She just like turned around and she looked at me and she goes, that's your pet, that's your baby. If you want to, hold him, you can. That's your right. And I just said, please. And I was just able to, hold him, and I put my hand out, and he ran immediately in my hands, and he just kind of, I said goodbye to him, and they gave him the shot, and I just kind of, he just laid in my hands until he fell asleep. And you could tell that he was so much better than he was. He wasn't seizing anymore. He wasn't squeaking, because he was squeaking and still kind of not having a good time, seizing the entire way that we went to the vet. So he was doing better. When they gave him the oxygen, he was doing so much better. And he was just, we used to do this thing where I would take him out, and he would run on my legs, and he would just run on my legs. And he was so smart too, because he would always know not to run too far or run off my legs, because obviously I wouldn't let him run off my legs. I don't want him to run away. He's a fucking hamster. But that's how much the oxygen helped him, is that like before he was seizing, and he couldn't even move, and then he was able to kind of like run on my legs one last time, and we kind of had a little moment. And even before we gave him the injection, he kind of ran a couple times, and I guess once he knew where he was, he kind of just like, I had my arm in the corner, and he kind of just ran into like the little pocket of like my elbow and like my leg, and he just kind of like dug his little head in my elbow and just kind of like laid there. And then they came in and they were like, if you want more time, and I was like, no, I was like, we just have to do it now, because I don't, I didn't want to be selfish. I don't want him to be in pain. They kept asking me for more time, and I just kept telling them, no, please, can we give him the, the shot as soon as possible, because I just didn't want him to be in pain anymore, and I didn't want to be selfish just so I could say goodbye. So, you know, he kind of fell asleep in my hand, and that's that. And, you know, he's in a better place now. They gave me his paws on like a little thing that we can bake and we can put up. It'll be a nice decoration. Yeah. So, then I had to go pick Amanda up from work because at this point, you know, we're picking up. She was already leaving work early at like 1 o'clock so we could go pick the girls up. At this point, you know, she's also crying. You know, she's also upset that the dog is, you know, the dog. God forbid. The hamster, you know, she was also upset. The hamster, you know, we kind of, like I said, we kind of knew. She said her goodbyes when I dropped her off. So, we just luckily, you know, her bosses are very good people. They even helped us with the rescue of the dog and everything. Great people, you know. Very much thank them, you know, for being able to like help these dogs also find us, and find a very good home. He's with Spike in Dallas now. You're right. But yeah, so had to then pick Amanda up from work right after that, and still get the house prepared, pick these girls up. And of course, with the terrible situation that we were picking the girls up from, we didn't want to be, you know, in bad spirits or give negative energy or anything like that. So we kind of had to just kind of perk up and, you know, be good. And luckily, Amanda's friend came with us, so we had someone to kind of talk to us and kind of help us take our mind off of everything. And help us with the transition, get them in the car. They were so good in the car, so good coming in the house, you know, and they've just been so good, you know, they've been so good. They last the whole night. They don't, you know, they don't go in the house, you know, they're so good. They sleep here again. Here I am streaming and talking, and they don't even, they're like, dude, do whatever you got to do, you know? So, yeah, so it's been a fucking insane weekend since then. We finally got a little bit more accustomed to the dogs being here. They've got a little bit more accustomed. I don't think it ain't but buy thunder shirts for dogs. Actually help my dog out a lot. We'll have to see. We haven't encountered rain like that yet. It's kind of snowing by us so far, and they love the snow. They've been playing in the snow. But they definitely, one of them gets really anxious for sure. I don't want to say their name because they're sleeping. I just want to let them sleep. But one of them gets really anxious. It took them a long time to warm up to me. The other one is just not afraid of anything. Just walks right up to anybody. Goes, "What are you all about?" But the light brown one, she's not afraid of anything. She's the anxious one. I've had pills for that. Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to see how they do. But right now, it's kind of, right now, no rain, no thunder right now. We'll have to see how they do. But yeah, so we've been kind of getting accustomed to that. Miss Amanda was able to go back to work today. She kind of took a couple personal days just so we could figure everything out. Worked from home a couple days, you know, did what she had to do. You know, luckily I do this. Thank you guys, and thank you everyone for the support as always. You know, I was able to thankfully, you know, be home with the dogs and, you know, handle them as well. And now we're back into the flow of things. Started working again yesterday, got some stuff done on Saturday, had that Sakamoto Days uploaded. So definitely go check out the Sakamoto Days video if you haven't already. Yeah, it's a new chapter indeed. It is a new chapter indeed. Crazy times we live in. Crazy times indeed. It's a new chapter in a lot of different ways. We're going into a new world, bro. Shout out to Bachira always. Bachira's the GOAT. You know what I was thinking the other day? I say this because of the background that's up right now. Someone should do like a Men in Black manga or something. Like a Men in Black anime. I feel like that would go hard. Am I wrong? Am I the only one that thinks that? Oh. Also, as well, so found out we were getting the dogs Wednesday night. What? Oh, now you're awake too. Girl, I know, you woke up. I know you forgot where you were. It's okay. Yeah, what do you want? What do you want? Okay. Lay down. Whatchamacallit? What was I talking about? I completely forgot. But yeah, Men in Black manga. Fire. I think that'd be a great idea. Talk about drama queen. Pfft. Move out of the way. Here's this real alien manga. But yeah. So, thank you guys for letting me talk about my crazy weekend. It's Monday now. We're back to the old grind. You know, we did Sunday Shonen chapters. We did Dawn to Dawn today, I think. Chainsaw Man's on break this week. So there's that. What up, Nighttime Terror? W rap background indeed. So I thought it would be fun if we just did a chill return stream, maybe for like an hour or two, and reacted to some of these fucking random ass Arcane bad videos that started popping up now that the series has been out for a couple weeks. I don't know if any of you guys have noticed this, maybe it was just me, but I noticed there's like so many of these videos that popped up out of nowhere of just Arcane bad, and that's the entire discussion. And I'm like, okay, is this now we're all trying to get a bag on Arcane bad? I have not checked out Mad. Might have to check that out. I don't know what that is. What is it, an anime or is it a show? I don't know what that is. Oh no. What account did I make this watch later playlist on? Okay. Okay. Hold on, let me see if I can open all these YouTube videos. And I have YouTube Premium, so we don't get any ads. Or you know what? I could just be getting clickbaited by all of these YouTube videos. But we will have to wait and see. because it could be really good, but it could also be really bad. Because I don't know if you know this about me, but I've done a 7-hour stream on Arcane, and I love Arcane. What up, noobs? How we doing? So if people want to talk shit about one of my favorite shows, then I'm going to be here to judge and see if it's valid criticism. Why do I have the right to do that? Well, because I'm a YouTuber. That's all there is to it. So I've got a litany of videos here. Some of them are way too long. I might not be able to get to all of them, but we will try. We will try. Some of them might be better than others. Some of them might be just be clickbait. Some of them might be actual reasonable criticism that I agree with. Because I don't necessarily think, you know, Arcane is perfect. I don't think it's a 10 out of 10. But you know what? So here we go. 65,000 views by Amio. Seems like a lot of people just being upset. Doesn't really seem like it's a troll or anything. So it seems like it's an ultimate video, an actual real video that someone made. So let's check this out then. This might be where we start, guys. Let's see. No, I want to do a pop out. Fuck it. I can't do a pop out player. Well, okay, that's fine. All right. Let's do it. Chill super stream. Very chill super stream while the dogs be sleeping.
While you could nitpick some things here or there.
Let me see if I can get the audio to come correct.
I love Arcane. Season 1, that is. While you could nitpick some things here or there, like many others, I think it's a masterpiece. It's not just one of the best video game adaptations or best...
Too fast. 1.25.
I love Arcane. Season 1, that is. While you could nitpick some things here or there, like many others, I think it's a masterpiece. It's not just one of the best video game adaptations or best animated shows ever made, it's one of the best shows ever made, period. Which is why it's so painful how disappointing Season 2 is. Before diving into the reasons why, here's a little back.
So, let's guess. Let's guess. 1. They don't like Caitlyn's character. 2. They don't like Vi's character. 3. They don't like Jinx. 4. Nothing makes sense. There's our 4 bingo cards. Let's keep track of them. Oh, they probably don't like Isha. They probably don't like the Caitlyn Vi scene. And they also, again, what was it? Plot doesn't make sense. All right, there's our 6 bingo cards, guys. All right, let's cue them up.
Background on me and where I'm coming from. I'm not and have never been a League of Legends player. I went into Arcane knowing very little about it outside of having seen a few cinematics like the Get Jinxed video. While watching Season 1, I didn't know who was a champion from the game and who wasn't, which ultimately didn't seem to matter as even non-champions like Silco were written with just as high level of quality and characterization as anyone else. Now, even though Season 1 technically ended on a cliffhanger, I would have been perfectly happy if the show concluded right there. I thought it captured every theme and character journey it was going for, and that the ending was a satisfying conclusion even while being open-ended. So I'm not here to talk about why Season 1 is so good. If you want that, there's a million video essays on YouTube already gushing about it. Let's just accept that Season 1's fantastic and move on from there. Out of curiosity since the end of Season 1, I watched a few lore videos and looked up some information about League, but I've never been tempted to play the game or really do a deeper dive into it. I also watched the making of documentary Bridging the Rift that Riot released on YouTube. I want to make it clear that the problems with the show have nothing to do with the desire on my part for the story or characters to stick to the game's canon, and I'd be fine with things diverging wildly as long as the writing was still good.
The thing is like, if you liked Season 1, I don't understand what you couldn't like about Season 2, besides, like, I have my issues with it. You know, the pacing wasn't that great. You know, some things were obviously cut out. But my issue is ultimately that there were things that, you know, they could have done more with. Other than that, I mean, what more could you possibly say? It was a great, I mean, I think they finalized everything great. I think the characters were amazing. But let's see.
So with that said, here were my expectations going into Season 2. Season 1 was so good that I didn't think Season 2 would be able to live up to it, but I did think
I personally think Season 2 is better than Season 1. Then that's just my take.
Would still be very good and that there wouldn't be a dip in the art or animation quality. And on that last point, I'm happy to say the show still looks fantastic.
What's wrong, girl? What's wrong, girl?
Studio Fortiche brings their A game and it shows. But the writing is another matter entirely. Let me be clear. When I say Arcane Season 2 is disappointing, I don't just mean it's not as good as Season 1, but it's still good. It's bad. Really bad.
Like, that's what I mean. Like, at least, at the very least, Season 2, you should be able to, like, think is adequate. Because Season 2 gave us Isha and Tucker. My goat didn't deserve that. So true. What? How? It's at least got to be adequate. You can't call it, what? How is it bad?
And
it's good television. Ashes and blood scene by the end of Act 3. Act 2 is like arguably the only part that I could guess you could say is somewhat boring, but not so because of the Jace ending, the Warwick and Vander stuff. Isha, I have an issue with. I think Isha is genuinely a decent a decent criticism, but it's low-hanging fruit, right? It's very low-hanging fruit. It's such low-hanging fruit. Like, to be like, Season 2 is bad because it ruins Isha, like, no. Isha wasn't that important. We can overlook Isha, right? The show clearly didn't think she was that important.
That is because they didn't change that awful Imagine Dragons theme song.
Fair criticism. They should have gotten a new song for the new season. But I will say, I think the song is good.
Just kidding. That's obviously not the reason. One of Season 1's strengths was how the show...
Oh, no, I know you're fine. I'm not really responding to you, Jacob. I'm just speaking in general to people that think that ruins Season 2, and that's the only thing they can say. But we'll see again.
Just got better the more you thought about it. There were all kinds of little details you could pick up on rewatch that you didn't notice before. To give a few brief examples, things like, when we see a flashback of Victor as a sick kid, he can't keep up with his wind-up toy boat. And then later, after having altered his leg with Hextech, he's able to outrun the real boat in the background. Or when Vander's speaking to Benzo at the pawn shop, he says there's worse things than enforcers, and he runs his fingers over his arm, which we later find out is where Silco cut him with a knife during their fight. There were all kinds of little things like that which showed an incredible attention to detail and made the show better the more you thought about it and on subsequent viewings. Arcane Season 2 has the opposite problem, where the show only gets worse the more you think about it. I left the show feeling kind of like I did when I walked out of the theater for Last Jedi, an unflattering comparison to say the least. At the end,
The Last Jedi. Huh? The Last Jedi. This god-awful embarrassment of years, decades of source material that was made specifically by Rian Johnson because he did not like Star Wars and wanted to burn it to the ground. That's the comparison you make of all things. The Last Jedi.
End of Act 1, episodes 1 through 3 of Season 2.
I've got to hear what the
well, it's still good. If Season 1 was a 10 out of 10, then this season is like, a 7 out of 10. Not bad.
The Last Jedi was a 7 out of 10?
Well, it's still good, to say the least. I left the show feeling kind of like I did when I walked out of the theater for Last Jedi, an unflattering comparison to say the least. At the end of Act 1, episodes 1 through 3 of Season 2, I thought, well, it's still good. If Season 1 was a 10...
My problem is that he thinks The Last Jedi is a 7 out of 10, if that's the case.
10 out of 10, and this season is like, a 7 out of 10.
The Last Jedi is not 7 out of 10.
Not bad, still decent. But by the end of Act 2, and with more time to mull it over, my evaluation of the show has plummeted. Once you take off the rose-tinted Arcane glasses and let go of the goodwill Season 1 generated, Season 2...
Once you let go of the rose-tinted Arcane glasses, what a stop having fun ass comment.
Doesn't hold up at all. If you look at the discourse online, fans have been criticizing the pacing, but I think Season 2's problems are much worse than just that. So to get...
This has to be a joke, right? Make Stardew Valley stories and then just randomly wanted to hit the fucking ground running, coming out at fucking Arcane. Okay.
Give an overview before we dive into the details. The biggest problems with Season 2 are the pacing is too fast, which causes or exacerbates a lot of connected sub-problems, and which leads directly to the issue of information and scenes.
The pacing? I should have put the pacing down on the bingo card. Pacing should be on the bingo card.
Which should be
and the missing scenes
included in the show, but which are instead either missing or happen off screen. The characters do dumb things or act out of character in order to move the plot along.
Character doesn't make story don't make no sense. I'll count that. I'll count that. Yeah, pacing is basically the free space. You're right. Plot doesn't make sense. Characters acting out of character, which I completely disagree with entirely. But let's hear it.
And finally, a lot of things are just flat out stupid or make no sense. A lot of the season
well, he said it right there anyway.
Is rushed, with events being set up, resolved, and moved on from too quickly. It's kind of...
I should have put rushed too. I should have called that, honestly. Rushed is obvious to say.
Kind of hard to describe if you haven't seen the show yourself, but a lot of the storylines feel like they could have been told over the course of an entire season, but instead they're resolved in 3 episodes.
You know, it's funny. I see people use this copyright protection thing, and it just...
This also leads into another problem that many fans have criticized, the music video sequences. Now,
just don't put the trailer uninterrupted. Use some cuts. You gotta cut the scene. You can't just play the trailer over and over again and be like, oh, they copyright striked me. Why do they do that? Because you're stealing the trailer. You gotta put a little bit of work into the edit, my guy.
Now, Season 1 also had similar sequences, but the main difference is that they were in service to the story, whereas the ones in Season 2 feel like self-indulgent wastes of time, like the creators were trying to show off.
How?
And almost every episode in Act 1 and 2 of Season 2 has one of these sequences either right before or after the intro, which makes...
But we're adding more things to the bingo card as we go along, as we watch these. Music video complaints. Shut the fuck up about the music videos. The music videos are cool, and it's such an easier way and a faster way to go through time and explain the story. You don't need... Did we really need an episode focused on the Chem Barons? Did we really need an episode? I mean, I guess I would have liked an episode focusing on the, you know, the Jinx riots and, you know, the martial law. I would have preferred that. Did we really need a whole episode on Vi's fucking downfall into... No. Did we really need a whole episode of them? No, we didn't. We didn't.
It makes a lot of the episodes feel samey. Amazingly, some of these
makes them feel samey? Stop.
Are actually less efficient at moving the story along than a few lines of dialogue would have been. The exact...
Less efficient at moving the story along than a few lines of dialogue would have been. And then the complaint would have been, Arcane season 2, all it does is just give you exposition, and they just exposit at you, blah 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 blah. They just tell you everything. It's a fun way to show what's going on. I don't understand why people don't like the music videos. The music videos are some of the best parts about Arcane. I think you guys just don't like fun things, to be honest with you. Right, Harley?
Opposite of what a montage is supposed to do. These music video
The exact opposite of what a montage is supposed to do, he said.
sequences only worsen and are made worse by the show's pacing, consuming precious screen time in an already rushed story. If you want to compare for yourself, watch any of these.
Consuming precious screen time in an already cluttered story. We've got to listen to ourselves here. So our issue with the music videos is because they're an ineffective way to tell the story, and we would prefer a few lines of dialogue and a scene added to just say, hey, you know, the Jinx people have been going and going and going and going constantly and starting a riot, and now we're taking them in martial law. Great. I'm glad that we heard you guys talk about that. Vi goes, yeah, I've been fighting in this underground arena for 3 days, and now all my friends hate me. I just had to tell the audience this. Honestly forgot about them, which could be a negative. I don't know about that.
These sequences.
I mean, his argument is that they make the story incomprehensible and they take up space in an episode that could be better used to show a different scene. But the thing is all of these things are important information. We would have had to learn this information some way, shape, or form. So the episode's already cluttered, and you take out the 2 minutes. I just don't understand what you would have
from season 2, and then go back and watch the Jinx Echo fight on the bridge in season 1. It's a shame because I don't think the show needed another season or even additional episodes to fix its pacing issues. It could have been solved by adding just a few minutes to each episode, or simply rearranging some scenes.
Yes, adding in a couple more minutes to every episode would have been fine, but they didn't. Do you know how much extra money and animation that would have taken?
Now, I'm going to group the last 2 points together: missing scenes and nonsense. Let's go through it in order. Episode 1. After Jinx's rocket attack, and again after the attack at the memorial, the council convenes to decide whether or not to invade Zaun and whether to use Hextech weapons.
Okay, this is the dumb, the bad, and the nonsense. So this is characters acting out of character and this plot not making sense.
Jace is bewilderingly missing from the deliberations despite the fact that he's on the council. Now you might argue that Jace resigned from the council at the end of season 1, and you'd be wrong because he didn't. But even putting that aside, Victor, Jace, and maybe Heimerdinger are the only ones who know how to build Hextech devices, so the council wouldn't be able to do anything without Jace's say-so anyway.
Jace is currently trying to save his friend.
No matter the vote. Since Caitlyn's mom is dead, her dad hands her the Kierman key and, symbolically, all of the family titles, duties, power, and prestige that go along with it. But shouldn't he inherit them from his wife rather than everything going directly to Caitlyn? This problem could have...
Why does that matter? Why is that even important? Obviously, Caitlyn's the more important. What? Why? Why do you care? That's such a dumb nitpick.
Easily been solved by simply showing that the father was in too distraught a state of mind to take on those responsibilities at the moment, but instead, it just doesn't make sense.
It makes perfect sense. What do you mean?
At the end of episode 1, Caitlyn assembles an elite strike team of enforcers made up of herself, Vi, and 3 other newly introduced crew members. I don't know why Caitlyn thinks a single 5-man team will be enough to take on all of Zaun's criminal underbelly, even if they are equipped with Hextech, and that's before you realize that only Caitlyn and Vi have Hextech weapons, and the other 3 have a gun that launches smoke bombs, a shield, and a police baton.
From the man that loved season 1 so much, it's weird how it took 2 people, Jace and Vi together, who both had Hextech weapons, to destroy an entire chem fortress or whatever the fuck they did, get rid of a couple kids, and they could have gone even further and went all the way to Silco's place and caused a whole fucking ruckus. But they didn't because Jace changed his mind. So why wouldn't Caitlyn think Vi, someone who already did half of the job on her own, herself, and 3 other people for backup, wouldn't be able to figure this one out? That, again, the nitpicking is insane. Also, did you want them to show up with 100 people? 50 people. They're trying to just take out Jinx. They're not trying to start a war with Zaun. If they were trying to start a war with Zaun, then clearly they would just do what they do later in the story, which is the martial law. But at this point, they were just trying to take out Jinx and avoid Zaun at all costs.
Then there's the fact we barely know these people. There's Maddie, who we just met this episode, and then there's two people we don't even know the names of. The second
or
is
maybe the mother wanted to go to Caitlyn. Yeah, it's really not that hard of a thought process, Mario Busters.
Hobo, who we just met this episode, and then there's two people we don't even know the names of. The second is a drunken hobo who's apparently an enforcer who barely has 5 lines of dialogue. He actually has so little dialogue that I can play all of his lines for you right now.
Hey, watch it. Knock first. You alright? You, lose someone in the attack? Like peanuts.
And finally, the green dude who's had 0 lines of dialogue. What makes them suitable for this supposedly elite team over all the other enforcers? The introduction of these characters here will become even more baffling after what happens later in episode 3. Episode 2. After having almost died, Victor emerges from the Hextech cocoon healed and has a conversation with Jace before abruptly leaving without much discussion.
So wait, we're not going to discuss how Jace clearly had an excuse for why he wasn't there because he was taking care of his... We're not going to talk about that?
Both he and Jace should probably have about 1 million questions for each other. Questions like, what exactly is Victor now? What are the properties of his new Hextech body? Victor should want to know what happened after the rocket attack, and he should be interested in curbing the militaristic decisions that are being made by Piltover's council towards Zaun.
Why would he be interested in this? He was already done with all of this. I don't even know if I can watch this. I'm getting triggered way too much. These are all, the dumb, the bad, and the nonsense is more of a literal video title than this person believes. None of this criticism even makes sense, dog. I'm getting triggered watching this because it's just so...
You want to sabotage Jace's new Hextech weapons or try to change his mind about making them.
Sabotage Jace's new Hextech weapon? That's not...
Heck, for all either of them knows, Victor will die in a bit if he doesn't return to that Hextech slab. Or maybe his new Hextech body might be dangerous for other people to be around, like maybe it's radioactive or something.
He tells him that he wants him to stay, and Victor says he doesn't want him to stay. What is he going to do? Force his friend to...
Nope. Instead, they have an incredibly rushed disagreement, don't make obvious inquiries into each other. Then Victor picks up a random book on the table and fucks off with barely a protest from Jace. This is character assassination, and we'll be seeing...
This is character assassination. I can't. We shouldn't be allowed to say that word anymore. We outlawed TikTok. We can outlaw the word character assassination. No one's allowed to say it anymore. Stop it. You can't say that fucking phrase anymore because you don't know what the fuck it means. Stop it. Character assassination is anytime a character does something that I don't like. What if Count Saint Germain is a type of immortal that remembers his past life and that's how he knew where the Asura sword was? It could be as simple as, you know, his collection, but I don't know. Count Saint Germain's a crazy person. A
lot more of it. Victor also presumably walks past numerous patrolmen and other people in the building, as well as random passersby in the streets before getting to Zaun, and no one stops him or takes note of his appearance at all. Furthermore, Victor's ultimate destination of what amounts to an undercity crackden seems to have been decided without any real purpose or plan, as he's effectively led there by a ghost. Then moving on to Jinx.
He seems like he has no purpose or plan, but he's led there by a ghost.
Somehow, everyone in the Undercity immediately knows that Silco is dead, but not how he died, or that Jinx was the one who killed him. This is evidenced by Savika not wanting to turn Jinx over to the Enforcers or kill her, and later Smeech being surprised to learn this from Jinx herself. This means that Caitlyn and Vi, bafflingly, didn't tell anyone this information despite it being in their best interest to tell the inhabitants of Zaun so they'd turn over Jinx. Remember, they plaster Jinx wanted posters up everywhere and start gassing the slums trying to find her, yet at no point do they consider revealing the...
Why would they believe the Enforcers? Why would they? That doesn't even make sense. Why would they believe the Enforcers? I had to just check on Sadie. she went out in the hallway. Oh, here she is now. Hello. You can hang out in the hallway if you want. You're not going out until it's time. You got another hour.
Information that would turn everyone against her. Similarly, Smeech never tells Savika that Jinx killed Silco during their fight.
Voron never could keep his damn mouth shut.
I mean, come on, now you're just drawing attention to your lack of attention. Heimerdinger and Echo see strange biological contamination on the tree and head back to Piltover's science lab to investigate when they run into Jace. Now, Heimerdinger should have a lot of questions about the attack on the council and the current state of affairs in Piltover, especially considering he's one of the city's founders, a former council member himself, and the other councilors were his colleagues.
He doesn't
might
know
want
that
to
it
know things
happened.
like if they suffered in their final moments, who's currently running the city, and so on.
I'm done. This is the same shit that people say about fucking Jujutsu Kaisen. Why didn't Gojo get a funeral, and why didn't anybody talk about I can't believe that they didn't spend the epilogue having fucking Gojo have a funeral and everyone fucking think about it. Like, did you miss the whole fucking point of, like, it would disrespect a sorcerer's death? It's like, it's so stupid. It's such a misunderstanding of the whole point of why these things even happen to begin with, right? It's such a blatant, like, just, I didn't understand the point of this stuff. This stuff didn't make sense to me, and therefore it is bad. When it's like, no, you just didn't get it, my guy. I expect every video to be relatively the same. He gonna crash out after hearing it over and over. I mean, like, I'm gonna give this 2 more minutes, and if this is just more of the same shit, I'm honestly moving to the next video, because this isn't even worth giving the time of day.
There might also be some resentment or unresolved tension with Jace, since he's the one who voted Heimerdinger off the council. None of that is said.
They do have clear fucking animosity.
Instead, Heimerdinger's been turned into the comic relief who says,
guys.
Oh, ball sockets.
ball sockets. More character assassination, as Heimerdinger is done more dirty than any other character in my opinion. Episode 3. Now, this next one is a little complicated, and it involves inconsistencies in the timeline, so try to follow along.
Okay, inconsistencies in the timeline, so try to follow along. We'll give this one last episode 3 a chance. We'll see what he has to say about episode 3.
In episode 2, we see a meeting between Jinx and Savika before cutting to Heimerdinger and Echo meeting Jace, implying these events happen roughly around the same time as each other. Then
Well, that doesn't necessarily imply that. No, it doesn't imply that at all.
it cuts back to Jinx at the arcade, and then we get the fight with Smeech. A lot of other events also transpire, importantly Jinx rerouting the entire air pipe network of the underground. And then, after all that, we finally cut back to Heimerdinger, Echo, and Jace, still conversing in Jace's office as though only a few minutes have passed. Unless time moves slower inside the academy walls, this makes no sense. After making their way deep into the Undercity, prior to confronting Jinx, Vi takes Caitlyn aside and tells her,
I think we should cut the others loose. Jinx is gonna have surprises in store for us.
to which Caitlyn responds,
All the more reason to bring backup.
to which Vi responds,
She'll smell their nerves
Sorry,
a mile away and
water
find a way to
bottle
use
in
them
the
against
way.
us. Tell me I'm wrong.
"You're wrong, Vi." Now, I know why the writers did this. They wanted to clean
What?
Us.
All the more reason to bring backup.
to which Vi responds,
She'll smell their nerves a mile away and find a way to use them against us. Tell me I'm wrong.
"You're wrong, Vi."
No.
Now, I know why the writers did this. They wanted to clean up the upcoming fight so it would be a more intimate 2v2 and less logistically complicated, and also so the stakes would be higher since otherwise Jinx and Savika would be outnumbered. But this excuse is ludicrous. Also, Vi, why are you bringing this up now? A better option would have been if one of them was injured and the other two had to escort them back to Piltover, or maybe they got caught up fighting some henchmen while
And
protecting
here we go. We're rewriting the story. I'm done. The classic. Rewriting the story to do something different is not criticism. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll say it time and 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 time again. You cannot go to a story and then go, yep, I think things should have just happened this way instead. Actually, that would have been much better. That's not criticism, bro. It's just not. All right. Well, we're noping out of that one. All right. Here we go. Arcane Season 2 destroys its female characters, and I'm mad. This one I thought would be especially triggering because personally, I mean, who am I, a fucking man? I think Arcane has really good women characters. I think it has some of the best written women characters in a long time. But what do I know? let's see. Got a bad feeling about this one. Let's see.
I love Arcane, but I have never been so disappointed in a final season. In fact, I am devastated. I really loved season 1.
Devastated.
The best part was Jinx and Vi, who honestly were some of the greatest written female characters probably of the last decade. But
Okay, we need to add another thing in here. Love season 1. Hates season 2. All right, hold on. Let's start over. That is such a common fucking thing I see in so many things. Season 1 is amazing, but season 2, terrible. Worst television in history. I just don't understand how you can have this opinion without just writing the story in your head and being before watching it and then being upset that it didn't happen the way you
season
wrote it in your
2
head.
completely sabotages them. Jinx is nowhere near as nuanced, and Vi
Jinx is nowhere near as nuanced. Compared to what? When she was literally hallucinating and going through schizophrenic tendencies and like not even really making sense half the time because she was so fucking traumatically fucking mentally hurt and broken. And she reaches her lowest point and finds someone that reminds her and gives her that big sister, little sister relationship she always wanted, just on the other side around. And she learns to appreciate that. And she doesn't want to do Jinx. I feel like Jinx has so much more layers and so much more. Is this a torture stream? It's starting to turn into one because holy shit.
is simply forgotten. Vi might be the worst
Vi is forgotten. I'm pretty sure Vi's in every episode.
as nuanced, and Vi is simply forgotten. Vi
So, don't like Jinx. Don't like Vi.
might be the worst case of character assassination.
Oh my god. I knew I should have put it on the fucking list. Character assassination. I'm telling you, we need to just write this word out of the dictionary, cross it out, delete it from history, because every video, you're right, it's got to be every single video. It has to be. There's no way.
I've ever witnessed. Even worse, by sabotaging the sisters, I think they sabotaged the story. I've seen a lot of people say that we needed more time, but I genuinely believe that poor pacing is just a symptom of a much bigger problem.
Poor pacing.
A misguided vision. I think we should have focused on what season 1 set up.
We should have focused on what season 1 set up. How did we not focus on what season 1 set up? It's gotta. Whoosh, not even gonna let her finish her point. Amazing analysis going there. First of all, you are coming in. I've already watched an annoying video. I am already riled up. So stop. Do not criticize me. And 2, we are keeping a bingo card. And I will let her finish her point. I more than happy to listen to what she says. I'm just taking note of how many commonality things and buzz terms we're hearing.
Doomed sisters in warring cities. The rest should have supported that core, but not overtake it.
And also, not for nothing, I am simply just saying that the point that is being made in the introduction is false. I'm sure that it will get elaborated on later, but either way, that doesn't make the statement any more true.
Are things to love about season 2, but I can't help but feel mostly frustrated by it, especially when I can see all the work that went into this animation. I don't play League, I don't know the lore, but I'm gonna break down where I think we went wrong with Jinx and Vi from their
You know what? That should be that should be another one too. I didn't play League because that was set in the last one too.
their disappointing arcs to the missed potential we could have had if this show just stayed focused on what made it great.
Here we go. What are we at here? We gotta speed this up.
Out of the two sisters, Jinx is the better written one, but she's really frustrating in season 2 because she has a fantastic setup, but her character isn't explored nearly enough given how nuanced she is. And
Her character isn't explored nearly enough. I feel like Jinx is like the epicenter of the whole entire show.
this makes her ending 10 times worse than it is on its own. Given the bomb she launched at the city, she's a wanted criminal and in hiding. She's aimless, disconnected, and wants to die. Her
Yep.
depression actually makes a lot of sense for multiple reasons. First,
Okay.
she's internalized her name. She is a Jinx who kills everyone close to her. She just unintentionally murdered her second adoptive father, Silco. Second, even though she chose Jinx over Powder, she's still haunted by her past trauma, this time by Silco and not her adoptive siblings. Third, Jinx has no one left to take care of her, and her self-worth depends on external validation. Lastly, Jinx lacks purpose because she's no longer following someone's plan, and she's definitely not going to follow Savika when they both still annoy each other. I really love all of this. I didn't expect Jinx to become a chaotic villain. After all, Jinx sends this bomb to solidify her identity and probably to honor Silco, not to start a war. The problem is that every single one of these complex themes is explored way too simplistically with Isha. Isha is the mute orphan girl who encourages Jinx's creative potential rather than her destructive. On one hand, Isha could make sense for the story. As a mute, she doesn't have the ability to tell Jinx who she is, so she's a clean slate to explore her identity conflicts. Instead of orphaning kids, Jinx takes in an orphan. Isha's also the first person to see her as a hero and not a monster. Plus, finding a friend in a child tracks because Jinx is stunted in growth herself. I also am a sucker for cuteness, and so I really like seeing Isha and Jinx play together. I love her little nose quirk, and their montage is genuinely adorable. But Isha exists only to grow Jinx, and she does this too effortlessly.
We will show them all.
Jinx is dead.
Jinx sending this bomb at the end of season 1 is Jinx accepting her Jinx identity. Even here, Jinx isn't happy about it, so she's not a villain, but she is accepting a negative self-concept. She also just went through a horrific surgery altering her for good. For her to say Jinx is dead just a couple of episodes later, only because she takes Isha in, is abrupt.
I think we're forgetting something very important that happens in between those two scenes. I distinctly remember Jinx setting up a botched terrorist attack that she was hoping to die in with her sister, and the terrorist attack didn't work. And since that point, she's been in hiding because now she really feels fucking hopeless more than anything, because not even Vi could kill her. And she almost got Isha killed in the process. I don't know. I feel like that might be an important don't credit Weary Exile, I don't know if you understand what's going on here. This is a reaction stream. I don't know if you've ever heard of one of those things before. Reacting to a video here. Where I watch a video and I give my opinions on it. And I was clearly kidding when I said don't criticize me, but you're right. You are speaking to a royalty, so watch your tone when you talk to me, because it's not good to speak to royalty that way.
time skip doesn't help in this case because we don't see how this growth happens. This is
Thing
very
is, they're not
different than
completely
season
wrong,
one, where
I'd say, but they're definitely aren't right. They're either missing a lot of details that the anime portrays throughout the season. Are you guys talking about One Piece?
the time skip jumps from innocent Powder to crazy Jinx, but it's easier to understand this shift without seeing it because we see hints of getting here in Act 1.
She jinxes every job.
I ruined everything. I always do.
Why did you leave me?
Because you're a jinx.
Silco arrives at her lowest point and intensifies her destruction because he wants to prove himself too.
We will show them all.
In season 2, Isha finds her at another low point and intensifies her creativity. Jinx's destruction decreases because she's no longer trying to prove herself. It's not necessarily unbelievable, just less nuanced and I think rushed. The only hint of this version of Jinx in Act 1 of season 2 is her fixing Sabika's arm. I do like that they bond. I actually quite like their scene together, but I also
Oh boy.
think that this gift is super sudden, given that they hated each other in season 1.
Savika? That ogre couldn't clean a dust bunny with a blowtorch.
That you're about as good for our cause as you were for your family.
Again, Jinx isn't a villain, but given her bomb statements, plus her severe depression, we should see how Isha helps her heal. But even then, I don't think Jinx even should heal this much. Jinx has a severe identity conflict pushing
I don't think she should heal. I don't think she did heal, and I also don't.
her between good and evil. Now,
I think she's still in a character identity. That's why she says Jinx is dead. She doesn't know who she is. She still doesn't understand who she is.
instead of choosing between Powder and Jinx, she's questioning her nature. Is she naturally a destroyer? But this conflict is caused by significant trauma that shouldn't be so easily erased. And I just think it undermines how
I don't
complex
think
she
it's
really
erased.
is. In
It's not erased. It's very clearly affecting her. That's why she's saying Jinx is dead.
Season 1, Jinx's identity conflict is portrayed so well. Her flashbacks of Vi are really conflicted. Her fear of her past mentally blocks her. She constantly tries to prove herself. Her duality, which is her potential to destroy or build, is symbolized by the gemstone, magic that can either power weapons that kill or tools that make life better. Her personal identity is symbolized by shattered mirrors because she is mentally fragmented. In the season 1 finale, her identity hinges on the acceptance of other people. This is very key because we're gonna come back to this. There's so much complexity to how Jinx sees herself, and I just think it's oversimplified with Isha. Jinx becomes too normal. While I love Jinx and I sympathize with her, she did do monstrous things. She not only fired a bomb at City Council, but she killed Firelights and Enforcers, almost killed Echo, kidnapped Caitlyn, and tortured Savika. She rampaged the Hex Gates and blew up the lab pretending to be a trapped little girl. Silco may have encouraged her destruction, but most of these are her ideas. Yes, this season is about her positive potential. I'm not saying she should be evil or even repent for all her crimes, but it's established that Jinx enjoys violence, and she can even be apathetic to it. She has no qualms about killing for her own gain. Just look at the way she looks at Savika here. She's a little nuts. In season 2, she's just too sane. I understand that Isha helps her heal, and that she gains a positive influence, and I don't mind exploring that side of her personality. I just wish Isha made her morally gray and not totally sympathetic and non-psychotic. Jinx
Well, I wouldn't even say it was mostly Isha. Would you? Like, again, so we're forgetting the whole entire interaction with Vi and Jinx, and Jinx literally did a terrorist attack in episode
does
3.
commit.
You know, so she was still clearly holding up the Jinx monologue. She does the whole color vent thing where she blows up Piltover, or blows a huge section of Piltover with the paint bombs through the vents and purifies the air, which ignites the entire revolution of Zaun. And it's just Jinx doesn't want to lead the revolution because she feels even more broken from her identity after she fights with her sister and doesn't die, and it doesn't go the way that she wanted it to. And from that point on, all she has is this broken person who's even more broken now that she doesn't have Silco, she doesn't have Vi as a sister anymore, and that kind of fell through. She doesn't want to be the leader of the Zaun anymore. She doesn't feel comfortable. All she knows is Isha. And also, not for nothing, after Isha, she meets Vander. She meets Warwick. And after finding her dad and Isha, that's when she realizes that she wants to maybe change and do better. And then immediately after that, it all goes bad, and she's ready to take her life because it's, I don't know. Jinx's main goal is to be killed by Vi. Exactly.
heinous acts in
I don't think her character changes for no reason. I don't think she becomes sane. Obviously, she doesn't have as many moments where she loses her mind, but she also doesn't have someone whispering in her ear, fucking talking all that shit.
Season 1. She is mentally damaged. Jinx isn't a hero or a monster, she's both. The council, or at least Jace, also wanted to bring her to justice before her bomb, and it's so disappointing that all these other touch points of her destruction are just never revisited. Isha's also a problem because she
The whole point that she's trying to be arrested, people are looking for her the whole show. All of Piltover is looking for her. She's the most wanted person. It's like, it's weird because like she'll go forth and say one thing and explain it on how it makes Jinx good, and then immediately go back on that right afterwards and be like, this is why Jinx sucks. And it doesn't make any sense.
She only exists to grow Jinx. This means that she's a plot device and not a character. Plot devices aren't always bad, but for one to be responsible for almost all of a main character's growth is so disappointing, especially when there is such eloquent writing for the same thing in season 1. Isha does for Jinx what Silco did for Powder, encourage potential. But Silco is an actual character that
wouldn't say that Silco did for Jinx what Jinx did for Isha. I would say those are two entirely separate relationships. I see how you could say they're somewhat similar, but I don't know if you could compare them like that.
Drives several areas of the story. His cycle with Vander, vision for Zahn, Shimmer ploy. All Isha does is make people think Jinx is a hero. She has no real goal or conflict. She has no relationship with Savika or even Vi or Vander. Every character in season 1, even the side characters, are complex. And I'm just so sad they didn't do the same thing for season 2, especially to explore all the nuance of Jinx's identity. But these
She keeps saying that. While I'll agree that Isha could have been a more layered character, I'll never say that that's bad criticism.
are the least of my problems.
I don't understand the Jinx.
With Jinx. Like I said in the beginning, the biggest issue with season 2 is straying from the sisters. Vi and Jinx are the heart of this story, or at least they should be. Their strange relationship mirrors the
Or at least they should be.
warring cities, which Piltover versus poor Zahn, but they are caught in a cycle of violence. It's the same cycle as their adoptive fathers. At the end of season 1, Vi betrays Jinx by working with an enforcer, the same people that killed their parents. This mirrors Vander's betrayal to Silco when he gave up on their revolution to protect the girls. Jinx choosing her name is a rebirth. It parallels Silco's rebirth in the Toxic River. And so, the question for season 2 is, will the sisters repeat the cycle? Will there be a warehouse part 2? And in turn,
well, no, they don't repeat the cycle. They don't want to repeat the cycle. I mean, they fight in Act 1, and then and then in order to not repeat the cycle, Jinx gives herself, I don't understand.
Will Piltover and Zahn remain increasingly divided? This is such a great premise.
And it gets explored fully in the show. I don't understand what you mean.
Truly it is. It's genius. I still think about it. So what happened to it? I have so many grievances about this sister cycle. The easiest way I think I can express them to you is to just go by act. By the end of Act 1, it looks like the girls will repeat the cycle, but Isha interferes and neither dies. My biggest issue with this scene is that it's underwhelming. Their battle is
It's underwhelming? I'm sorry, maybe this is just pure opinion, and maybe we will never agree on anything if that is the case. If Ashes and Blood, that is, in my opinion, one of the greatest, absolute best fight scenes of the most recent era. I mean, to say that it's underwhelming is crazy. It's one of the best, most cinematic, most impactful, most overwhelming scenes I've seen in a long time. Oh my God. I can't believe anyone would. How could you say that?
Is supposed to mirror Vander and Silco's at the warehouse. Now, I do not expect them to top that scene. There is a lot more going on in that episode. It would be very unfair for me to compare them directly, but I do want to focus on one crucial element that should be done just as well. Vander and Silco feel like enemies.
I don't think she was talking about the fight scene, but how it ended. I don't agree on either of that. I think the whole scene is 10 out of 10 flawless, perfect, personally.
They face off. Silco stabs Vander while Vander strangles him, which are both very personal attacks, by the way, and then Silco carelessly pushes him off a bridge. Not to mention luring Vander's kids to their death while Vander is strapped to a torture chair. Obviously, Isha stops a similar outcome, but if they are continuing this cycle, I should feel a similar rage. This is the climax of Ultimate's betrayal, and I just don't feel enemy stakes. This scene prioritizes epicness over emotion. Vander and Silco, their face-off is simple and also quick, but it's a lot more powerful. It's as if they expect the slow-mo to carry the scene rather than writing that emotion into the story. This is probably
I don't rather than writing that emotion into the story. I mean, I don't know how else did you want it to. I mean, I kind of understand what you're saying, but I just don't think we needed all of that. What does it mean writing the emotions in the scene? I don't really know what that means either. I guess they wanted it to be more like Jinx and Vi crying and have it more. Well, ultimately, I guess here's the truth, right? Ultimately, here's what it comes down to. Is just based off of a couple things that she's already said. It seems that again, she says that she thinks Vi and Jinx's relationship should have been the focal point of the entire show. She thinks Vi and Jinx and their whole dynamic should have been the primary story. And, you know, Victor, Jace, the Arcane, Hextech, all of that should have been secondary. Vi and Jinx should have been number one. And so what she means by that is episode 3 is underwhelming because it's episode 3. It's not the finale of the season. They're not, you know, it's not like Jinx and Vi are crying and Savika's dead and Caitlyn's dead and everyone that they've built up this army to fight each other with, and now Jinx and Vi are leaders of Piltover and Zaun, and Jinx is the head honcho in Zaun, and Vi is one of the head enforcers, and they have all their friends duke it out, and everyone's died. Like imagine the big final finale, but instead of like Caitlyn and Mel versus Ambessa, like she wanted Ashes and Blood there as like the finale of the show, and like that fight to basically be finale inducing. That's what she wanted it to be. But obviously that's not the case. You know, the writers had a completely different view, and obviously the show Arcane, named after the Arcane and Hextech, was going to focus on the Hextech side of things. But that seems to me that's the best way I can explain is that, like, because this is only episode 3, it's not fully thematic, it's not very final, it's not very like end of movie, big final fight scene, climax of the movie, right? It's you know, I personally think it gets a lot of emotions across. It feels a lot, and I like the music video style to the fight. I think it's one of the most intense cinematic scenes I've seen in one of the longest times. And the fact that they are able to get that much emotion across in such a short amount of time is crazy to me. But to each their own, I guess.
probably one of the only times I didn't love the animation in season 2. The sister
Probably one of the only times I didn't love the animation.
emotion into the story. This is probably one of the only times I didn't love the animation in season 2. The sisters are a different dynamic than the fathers though, because Jinx actually wants to die, given that the temple is set up like a memorial.
And this is the thing. Then this is what I don't get. This is the problem. And this is what I think I mean when I say that it's like the issue is that the story didn't go the way that they wanted it to. Same as the last video, where this is how the fight should have went. The fight should have been more like this. It should have done this, and the fight failed because it didn't have enough emotion, and it just doesn't make sense. And then I'm going to follow this but with explaining perfectly and laying out exactly why what happened did happen, which is that Jinx wanted to die. She's not Silco. She's a completely different character. And despite the similarities of Vander and Silco, they are wholeheartedly different. And Jinx is also, obviously, trying to take her own life in this scenario. So you do understand what's going on in the story.
And she completely gives up when Vi overtakes her. But Jinx still wants to kill Vi too, whether it's by herself or through this explosion after she goes. So I should still feel like they're enemies. Honestly,
You didn't think they were enemies that whole fight?
I felt Jinx's sibling rivalry more with Vi when she tried to beat her score on the arcade boxing game. Again, it's so simple, but a lot more impactful. Perhaps it feels like the stakes are less here because the writers purposely leave it open-ended, with whether these girls can actually kill each other, especially since Jinx can't kill Vi earlier, and maybe Vi would have only knocked her out here. Personally, I think they could have killed each other, and I would have rather they just committed to that. Plus, it's a lot more rewarding if they forgive each other after coming from such a dark place.
But Vi was... I was going to kill her, and then Isha jumped in the way. If Isha didn't jump in the way, Vi would have killed her. This is episode 3, yeah. I just don't understand the criticism. It just doesn't make sense.
Isha also mirrors a successful version of Powder, which is cool, but I do wish this temple was significant to the story. The warehouse
I wish this to...
where
okay.
Silco and Vander face off is also where Jinx is abandoned and her identity starts to break. And then it's also where she hosts her tea party where she chooses her identity.
So, we already had a scene there. Why do you want to repeat that?
It's really poetic. This location is just a plot convenience.
Why would they want something like that so early into the story? Well, that's exactly what I mean, right? When I say that that's her whole point, is she didn't want that to happen episode 3. She wanted that to happen episode 9. She wanted that to be the end. And her thing is like, well, they should have forgiven each other after killing it, is her settlement. That's her meeting in the middle, being like, well, if they wanted to do this in episode 3, they should have at least had them go harder on each other and almost kill each other, and then they would have and then their forgiving of each other would have felt more real. But it's like, I don't know, that's not really a criticism, because I think the Ashes and Blood scene went very well, and the criticism of it was just that you wish they wrote the emotions more into the scene. I don't know, they didn't like the music video. Boom.
Convenience for the vent.
Just checking on my dog. I was hesitating which allowed the kid to get in the way. Either way, dude, it's...
which we're also going to circle back to. Also notice how Vander and Silco face off on a bridge, and this parallels the bridge between the cities. I have no idea where this symbolism went in Season 2. Same with the flame that represented power in the Undercity. Act 2 is where a Jinx-specific problem arises in the sister cycle. When Jinx learns Vander is alive, she goes back to Vi way too fast. The last time they were together was to kill each other. We should see Jinx struggle to go to Vi because she should still feel betrayed, regardless.
I guess that's true. I understand that. I understand that much for sure. I also understand why they just kind of did it, because one, they didn't have much time, which sure, that I guess that's an argument, right? But two, also at the same time, with this situation, she doesn't have anybody else. She literally doesn't have anybody else. Savika's not going to help her because Savika's more focused on helping the entire Undercity. She literally doesn't have anybody else to trust with this situation, and she can't handle it alone. So she goes to Vi knowing that they will probably have an issue, and that's why when Vi strangles her and almost punches her and starts killing her, she goes, hey, look, please listen, I literally couldn't go to anyone else, please.
Of the downward spiral that Vi is in, regardless that Vander is their father. Are they still sisters? Jinx only watches Vi from afar, and we have to interpret all the heavy lifting Isha has done to shift her mindset. Like how she teaches Jinx about second chances by not killing the bug. When Isha's captured, Jinx starts to understand Vi's protectiveness over her younger self, that sometimes you are too young to help, and maybe Vi was right to leave her behind all those years ago. But none of this is explored enough for Jinx to so quickly go back to her traitorous sister.
I don't know if I can get through this one either. This one is like nerve-wracking, because it's like, completely laid out. Like, Isha teaches Jinx about second chances. Isha teaches Jinx about this. Isha teaches Jinx about this. But none of this is explored enough to make sense. You just gave like 2-3 examples of where it was explored.
She is not the forgiving type. Do you remember what she did to...
She is not the forgiving type, but she's not the same person she was in season 1. She's not season 1 Jinx. She's a completely different character, especially after episode 3.
Vika and Silco. I like that Jinx says it's a do-over. We can do it together this time, but it's still jarring. Jinx's decision...
I like that she says this, but it's jarring.
Is a major crack.
It's kind of repetitive. It is kind of repetitive. It's really just, it's saying nothing.
Question of the entire show, and she pops in like it's nothing. Contrast this to her lighting that flare. It's a decision that also brings the sisters together, although it's the opposite emotion, but there is so much buildup and weight behind this moment. At least Vi's reaction is sensical, because she almost does kill her. And despite no buildup, I did actually quite like how this scene played out, with Jinx almost feeling like a hallucination. I do love the emotional moments of the sisters reconciling. I loved a lot of scenes in the tunnel, and of course this hug is so beautiful. I mean, how can you not love this?
They wanted Jinx to say the same how she was in season 1. Yeah, they wanted Jinx to be the villain of the story. Again, yeah, exactly. They didn't like this where the story of Arcane went. They wanted to focus on Jinx and Vi as the main story, and that isn't what happened.
I like that they vent their frustrations and bond over the past and family. They never apologize, but they don't need to. I just wish we built up to this over time, which we should have done because their relationship and this cycle is the core of the show. Because by the end of Act 2, the cycle is broken. Yes, this is not the cycle breaking. This is. This whole cycle madness has given me endless headaches, and this took me forever to understand. And honestly, I'm not even sure I do understand it. So if you have interpreted this differently than I would love to hear it. I'm gonna talk about this cycle throughout the rest of Jinx's section, and then also in Vi's, so you can start writing your comment now or wait till the end. Like I mentioned, the biggest failure for Jinx's character is her ending. And it's so frustrating because the lead up to it in Act 3, I think is excellent. By the time Isha sacrifices herself, which by the way, I love how this was animated. I thought this was such a beautiful scene. I love the music and Isha's little pose. That's why it's so hard to criticize this show sometimes, because there's these moments that are truly beautiful, mixed with moments that just really frustrate me. Anyway, by the time Isha sacrifices herself, the girls learn to love again. Vi protects Jinx, and after Vi passes out, Jinx gets her to safety, which we learn from Caitlyn. Their rage for each other is gone. They do not repeat the sins of their fathers. The cycle is broken, at least for now. So why then does Jinx later say that she's going to break the cycle? Jinx thinks that her curse is repeated.
Because they threw Jinx in jail. Vi was still an enforcer. Vi never wanted to give Jinx up. Vi literally says she's not going to let them take Jinx. She literally comes here to let Jinx out of jail. The cycle is always going to continue because Vi will never be able to be happy and live her own life with Caitlyn as long as Jinx exists and is out there. And Jinx does not believe that she belongs in the same place that that Caitlyn and Vi are. She just doesn't believe that the cycle is not ended by the end of episode 6. The very fact that Jinx gets arrested and Vi breaks her out is the whole point. Vi will never be able to move on. They'll always be in opposite sections. They'll never be able to live. They'll never be able to be
repeating the cycle of violence. But she's mentally crumbling, so she's framing it incorrectly. Jinx believes that she caused Isha's death because everyone that gets close to her dies. But this is a lie. Jinx did not kill Isha, unlike she definitely did to Silco, Milo, and Clagger. Isha sacrificed herself on her own terms. Hi, this is me from editing. I must add a very crucial piece of information that I have since learned. Essentially, the intention was that Jinx does kill Isha. Isha is emulating Jinx. She sees Jinx as a hero, and she sees Jinx fighting off bad guys using violence. So that's what Isha decides to do in this instance. With that thinking, Jinx does cause Isha's death because Jinx influenced Isha. Now, while that might be the intention, I still maintain that I don't like this because this isn't a direct action of Jinx. It's the same thing with Vi protecting Jinx too. I think they were trying to say, you know, the cycle is restarting because Vi's never going to give up on Jinx. But to me, this is a very reasonable action for her sister to have in this instance. I'm going to talk about this in a few minutes, but Vi protecting Jinx and Jinx's influence on Isha aren't directly tied to Isha's death. They're indirectly tied to Isha's, is what I'm saying. It's totally up to you whether you like this idea or not, but I do think it was important for me to add this in here. I will say the rest of the video does not take this note into account. So just be aware, I'm still gonna keep saying that they did not restart the cycle, and I still think they didn't, even though that wasn't their intention. Guys, I knew I was gonna misinterpret the cycle. I knew I was. I think that's another thing about this season. It's really confusing. Like, I mean, I don't.
It's that's another thing about the season. It's really confusing. That says a lot. It doesn't need to be a direct action if she felt responsible. I was literally gonna say that, Mario. I was literally gonna be like, okay, like it's one thing to from the outside looking in, watching a TV show, be like, logically, obviously you would never feel responsible for it. Obviously you weren't responsible. Like it's like a therapist in a survivor's guilt fucking counsel, you know, counsel session, telling their patient with survivor's guilt that, dude, you weren't responsible. Obviously, why do you feel this way? Grow up. It's like, dude, obviously this person with survivor's guilt isn't responsible. They literally have survivor's guilt.
I don't talk about this. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent now, but I don't talk about Victor or Vander and Jace at all in this video, but I found that plot line to be so confusing. Like with season 1,
and this is right. This is what I said. Yep, I found the every other plot line to be so confusing, which I don't know what was confusing about it, but proves my point. They just wanted the Jinx and Vi show. That's what they wanted.
it's so complex. Like there's very intricate.
It's so complex.
It's very detailed, but I understand the story. And then you go back and you're like, wow, there's all these extra details and layers and everything. Whereas this one, it's just like immediately a complete puzzle that you have to put the pieces together. And it's like, there's.
What do you have to put to what puzzle? What do you mean?
No map on how to do it. Anyway, and with that, carry on with the rest of the video. Her conversation with Silco, which is a.
Is it just me? I feel mean now, being like giving the tilted eyebrow, but what? What was confusing about the Arcane plotline? What was? There weren't even any like mysteries or like plot twists or like too much information to keep track of, right?
Essentially herself, because this is a hallucination, says that killing is a cycle. We are imprisoned to our identities. The cycle ends when you walk away. Jinx is a prisoner to her Jinx identity. She thinks, I caused the cycle of killing. Let me remove myself, walk away, to make the world better. This is why Jinx locks Vi up when Vi tries to rescue her. Jinx doesn't believe she's worth saving. Vi should be with Caitlyn because Jinx only destroys. And also, she's probably thinking that had Vi not protected her, she could have saved Isha. But again, Jinx is not directly responsible for Isha's death. So
it's hurting my head.
Jinx escapes, the mirror breaks because she's mentally broken, she sheds her Jinx hair and burns her past, she strips away everything because she's nothing, or so she thinks. This whole part is so sad, but it's really excellent, I think. It's very emotional, I love the music that plays, it ties in all her identity problems that are set up from the beginning, yet we go from this to this with just one line from Echo in between. Her entire arc occurs off screen, and this is a crime. This whole time, Jinx cannot see the potential others see in her. Silco loved her flaws. Isha saw her as a hero. Vi sees her as a sister again. Savika even thought she had potential. Even Victor talked about how she could build. Even in the alternate universe, Jinx consistently underestimates herself. Jinx's question is not, is she worthy of love? It's, can she love herself? How does she accept, or at least start to reason, all her conflicting identities, that she is a monster and a hero?
I will say that there is a lot of cut content in that part, and it is very quick that Jinx goes from being very, suicidal to being very like, all right, let's do this shit. But again, at the very end, with the end of her story, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I can't. We've had a good comeback stream, guys. I have severely triggered myself beyond belief. Beyond belief. Rushed. It's hitting almost everything. I can't get through it all. But yeah, I highly recommend you watch Arcane. Um, Arcane is definitely worth checking out. It's one of the best shows that I have seen in a long time, and personally, I enjoyed it. Well, I think there are genuine criticisms that you can make. I think personally, it's a really great story, and I really disagree with a lot of the things that people are saying. It seems very nitpicky. Um, and again, it seems very like I love season one, and then season two is terrible because it's funny. I was talking about that specific video that we just watched with Jesse, because I was planning on doing the stream before everything happened, of course, but uh, and Jesse showed me that the same creator has a video from 2 months ago saying that Vi and Jinx are some of the best characters ever written, or some of the best women characters, and 2 months ago. And then they made this video almost immediately. So something tells me that they watched season one and then watched season two, didn't get the full Jinx and Vi picture that they wanted, and then they checked out. And that was the end of it. And also, like I said, they thought the Victor Jace Hex Tech thing was confusing when that was the whole core aspect of the show. There were no plot twists, there were no complex twists or hard concepts to follow. It really wasn't too hard, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. To say that it was confusing, it just seemed like you didn't like it. And you were upset that the show focused on that and didn't focus on the two characters that, while they got their own arc, you just didn't like the arc that they went on. There's other videos. I assume they mostly all go the same, but I could be wrong. According to some people, I'm not the best analysis person, but you know what? That's fine. I never claimed to be an analysis video. That's why this is a reacting to Arcane bad videos and not analyzing Arcane bad videos, right? But guys, I'm gonna try and be a little bit more active as of late. Just getting my ducks in a row. I've got the one girl here, the other girl's in the hallway because I don't think she liked me being triggered. But I'll definitely stream again sometime soon, maybe tomorrow, maybe Thursday, we'll see. Definitely do member stream on Wednesday to catch up on Tokyo Ghoul. And yeah, guys, we're back. I got a cool video coming up. Naruto versus every Quincy in Bleach that should be out in the next couple of days. Check out my entire story of Sakamoto Days video that I uploaded on the main channel. As always, if you have not already, subscribe to my second channel, No Operator 2. You can find the link in chat. If you read any other series, Don, Kagurabachi, Sakamoto Days, Frieren, anything, weekly or monthly, check it out. Check out the second channel. Please subscribe. And yeah, it was good catching up. Thank you guys for letting me tell my stories. Thank you guys for letting me vent and explain my situation a little bit. It definitely was a crazy weekend, but we're back in business, baby. Thank you guys all so much for being here. I appreciate you guys just coming to hang out with me, chat, and just watch me get triggered over Arcane videos. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong. Thank you guys. You guys all stay strong too. Sending that spirit bomb energy. And yeah, love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.